Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing and bow our heads. Father God, I come before you. I'm just so thankful just to be here in this place and just ask, Father, that your words of wisdom will just guide us, help us to make the right decisions and have the right conversations, that they will edify you and they will bring honor and blessings to the city and the people in it and around it. We thank you for your love and your protection in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, thank you. Invocation, and then we'll move right into approval of agenda.
Mayor and Council, I'd like to request of you to move under public hearing item number 1, Proposition 218, proposed fee protest hearing pertaining to city solid waste collection services to the beginning of the agenda before public comment in the interest of time. And then also too, just want to make you aware that staff is going to be asking council to defer action on public hearing item number 2, legislative extension of time for track maps 6614 and 7072. We'll
Yes.
bring those back at a later date for those.
Just to confirm, the other tracks will be, that hearing for number 2 will still happen with the other
Correct,
track.
with the exception of those 2 that we'll bring back to you at a later date.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended agenda, taking public hearing item number 1, moving it before the public comments and taking track 7072 and 6614 out of public hearing item number 2.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Givens, seconded by Councilmember Espinoza. Roll call.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Prout.
Yes. Okay, so then this is the place where we're going to start on the public hearing. So welcome to our Shafter public hearing on proposed increases to rates for the solid waste service charges. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to receive your input from the public regarding the service charges that the city council will be considering tonight. As many of you are aware, the city of Shafter had to make changes of the way that solid waste services are provided to residents in order to comply with the new waste diversion mandates established by the state of California as part of Senate Bill 1383. Senate Bill 1383 requires cities like Shafter to provide organic waste collection services to all single-family and multifamily residents of all sizes and businesses that generate organic waste beginning in 2022. While you're free to comment on any matter related to this item, I should remind everyone in attendance that issues related to the type of service being provided or requirements related to the city's compliance with the state's new organic waste diversion requirements are not being considered tonight. Decisions regarding those matters have already been made, and the city's plan for compliance has already been sent to the California Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Resources, Recycling, and Recovery. That plan has been approved by Cal Recycle. Before we open the public hearing, I'd like to ask our city attorney to explain the requirements of Prop 218, governing the public hearing and the proposed adoption of these solid waste rates and charges. Mr. Martinez?
Thank you, Mayor. As you noted, this public hearing was set in compliance with Proposition 218 to ensure maximum transparency and an abundance of caution. The city mailed notice of this public hearing to any record owner whose property is subject to the imposition of the proposed rates and charges, and any customer of record who are not property owners. The date and time of the public hearing was not less than 45 days after the city mailed notice, which is tonight's hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is for the council to hear all oral testimony and consider all written protests concerning the proposed rates. It is also held to determine whether there's a majority protest to the proposed rates and whether to proceed with the adoption of the proposed rates. Property owners and tenants are not required to provide oral testimony at today's hearing. If they wish, they may simply submit a written protest directly to the city clerk indicating opposition to the proposed rate increases. And I believe the city clerk has got ballots that might be used by the public for that purpose. However, if you wish your protest to be counted, you must submit a written protest prior to the close of the public hearing tonight. The public hearing will be closed after the council has heard and considered the staff's report and all oral testimony on these items. Oral comments made today do not qualify as written protests. You must provide a written protest or fill out one of the ballots that is available with the city clerk. If written protests against the proposed rate increase are presented by a majority of the owners of the identified parcels upon which the charges are to be imposed or the tenants directly liable for payment, the city council may not impose the rate increase. If there is no majority protest, the city council may adopt the resolution that is on tonight's agenda to impose the new rate. Pursuant to state law governing Proposition 218, in determining whether a majority protest exists, only one written protest per parcel may be counted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. May we have a staff report at this time?
So, Mayor and Council, this is a familiar topic to you now. As the city attorney just explained, this is a statutory requirement to undertake this public hearing. With that, our Public Works Director, Mike James, will provide a brief staff report at this time. Mike.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, tasked with responding to looming SB 1383 regulations. The city early in 2021 assessed its compliance options with the assistance of a consultant and ultimately concluded that we need to mandate 3-cart service citywide for residents and ensure the businesses receive organic service if they are required to have that service. We later issued a request for proposals to private waste haulers for providing the 3-cart service within the core city. We ultimately received one proposal from American Refuse. The rates proposed in their proposal, the staff assessed would be substantially cheaper than the rates we would be charging if we expanded the city operation to accommodate 3-cart service. As an added bonus, American's rates provide for free bulky waste collection for residents in the service area. The council later directed staff to work towards awarding a new franchise agreement to American Refuse for the core city residents. And within the last 2 months, we recently negotiated franchise agreements for council approval. These agreements include updates to the existing franchise agreements to accommodate SB 1383, as well as the new core city residential franchise agreement. And approval of those agreements are planned for your June 21st meeting. As far as the rates go, for the core city residential franchise, the proposed rate of $26.55 includes the base rate of $23.09 plus a 15% franchise fee that the city would retain, which is a pretty common practice. As far as the existing franchise agreements go, the proposed rates will factor in new organics programs, recycling surcharges to address the unfavorable market conditions for recycled material, and just miscellaneous service additions and updates with the retention of the 15% franchise fee that is already assessed. The methodology for adjusting the rates is, as proposed, is going to change. We propose to use a formula that's being practiced by the County of Kern with their franchises. It's tied to the Consumer Price Index and other economic and industrial factors. So this is an approach that has worked for Gossamer Grove. So we wouldn't be considering a fixed rate plan with scheduled increases. We would be tying it to actual market conditions. But rest assured, the rate approvals will still be confirmed and approved by the council on an annual basis. Finally, the proposed rates and operational changes before you were factored into the budget development for fiscal year 22-23. And with that, that concludes the summary of the rates.
Thank you. Okay, the public hearing will be conducted in the following manner. The city council will open the public hearing for any person wishing to speak on this item. After all oral testimony has been heard, the city council will close the public hearing. Only those written protests submitted prior to the close of the public hearing will be counted. You'll be given a maximum 3 minutes to speak, so we ask that you keep your comments brief and to the point so that we can allow everyone a chance to speak. Our city clerk will be keeping time for each speaker. You'll be notified when you've reached your maximum allowed time. If a previous speaker has already addressed the items that you're going to speak on, you're not required to state them as well and have the opportunity to waive your right for someone else to speak. To facilitate the discussion, any questions from the speakers will not be addressed during the public hearing. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing and we'll hear from anyone who wishes to speak. You may come up to this microphone. Anybody want to speak? Okay. You may come forward and speak, yes, but you won't have an answer. We're not going to comment on it. Pardon me? Right. It's a public hearing. It's just for the public hearing. And there's a public comment time later if you have something you wanted to add to the public comment time. But this is just for the protest hearing that's required for Prop 218. Okay, your chances to come up and speak at this time. Otherwise, I'm going to close the hearing. Hearing none, close the public hearing. Okay, the other, if you have any remaining written protests that you want to deliver, you can bring them up to the clerk at this time. I'd ask the city clerk to provide the city council with the tabulation results for all valid written protests submitted prior to the close of the public hearing. City clerk, do we have anything at this time?
Prior to the close of the public hearing, we have received a total of 4 written protest letters regarding the rates for the solid waste service charges. For the proposed rates for the city's solid waste service charges, a majority of the owners of the identified parcels or tenants directly liable for such charges would equal 4. A majority protest does not exist of the proposed rates for the solid waste service charges.
Okay, the city clerk has advised us that based on the number of valid written protests submitted prior to the close of the public hearing, a majority protest does not exist for the adoption of proposed rates for the solid waste service charges. The council may now proceed to consider the proposed resolution to adopt the increase, or in this case, it's even less, to the city's solid waste service charges. Do any members of the city council wish to speak or call on staff for any clarification with respect to the proposed rate increases? You have anything, Pete?
Will you clarify your note on less?
Do you have anything you want to say on the,
No, you just mentioned instead of increase, it would be less. Can you clarify what you
well,
mean by
the
less?
fees are less than what we're already paying.
That is not true.
What did we have before? It was 20.
The increases apply to what the alley customers are currently paying.
Yes.
So it is an increase. It's not a decrease.
It would be a decrease for the existing curbside customers.
Existing curbside.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay. So is there any other questions or comments? Now we can vote on the resolution. We need a motion. Resolution number 2867.
Sorry, hold on.
Sorry.
All right, just want to make sure you're clear. quick question. So inside of this, I think I'm looking at page 3, Mike. Notice of public hearings, page 3. And albeit, I know there's 2 different pieces to this because there is an East Shafter residential rate. I'm only going to speak the residential portion of this. There's an East Shafter residential rate, which is Gossamer, correct? That's page 2. Am I looking at that correctly?
Each chapter is made up of
Just residential portion.
business and residents, but the bottom portion, the residents would be Gossamer, correct?
Gotcha. Okay, I want to make sure I'm okay there. And then on page 3, what I'm looking here in Core City is the rest. Now, I see 2 notes. There's an alley service, which is refuse collection twice weekly, 90-gallon street container. Existing 1674, proposed, it says to be discontinued. But, so I see what you've done there. So you're saying street service then existing 2896 and discontinuing on the alley side. So I will say this much, the rate I'm not having a hard time with, but I will continue to make my note on, I don't agree with the street. I do believe alley service should still be viable or at least an option. As far as we're making a request for an increase on the price, I don't see a problem with that. I understand what we're getting out of it. I look at the numbers perspective. I feel like as an individual, I'm getting more container availability, more room, if that makes any sense, right? I know when you do the breakdown, it looks a little weird, but I feel like I get more trash service at that point. I just don't agree with going to street only. It's my opinion of it. So that's where I'm going to have the hiccup is when I see the note that says alley service to be discontinued, street service is the only thing available. I don't know if there's a way that we can have the conversation in regards to having an option for alley service in this or what that would look like. My 2 notes.
At this time, we're asking for the adoption for resolution number 2867, which is a rate increase for the solid waste collection services. Adopting that.
I'll make a motion that we pass resolution 2867.
Just before I make my vote, I've really, in my house, I have a alley service. So that would be going away from me. And I was looking at the pros and cons on as far as the service goes, either in the alley or in the front. There's arguments on both sides. One argument, of course, now taking the trash cans to the front and taking up parking space perhaps, or people not putting their trash cans, containers back, put away. On the other end, having the service done in the alleys, I still see people going through the alleys, how I call it, dumpster diving. Yeah, thank you. And also I see them being scattered. Now you had one big one, a 300-gallon container, and sometimes I see that one knocked over. Just imagine having little ones, per house. In my neighborhood, I only have the 3 neighbors behind me. So you'll have like 12 little dumpsters, and someone goes around there pushing them around, kicking them, throwing them all over the place. And now I can't get through my alley because someone, some kid went by or somebody just went by and made a mess. So I see the pros and cons on both sides. At the same time, trying to see what's best for all of us, because we're all going to be affected by this. And there's not really a true best answer, because someone's not going to be happy at the end of the day. But the way it's written right now, even though I'm affected as well, I have to change some habits of mine, now carting them out to the front and taking up some of my parking lot or parking space, or depending what time I go to work and what time I get home. I with the help of the city and with their code enforcer, there's a track that we have today, that we have the 3 cart or maybe 2 cart containers or maybe 1 cart. And I see folks leaving them out in the front for a long period of time, but now with their code enforcer, hoping that they'll go by and just continue reminding the residents that they gotta put those containers away, put them back. I've heard complaints about folks not being able to walk on the sidewalks because the containers are there. So, it's just one of those things. It's a hard one. It's really a hard one. And it's, that's due to what the state is going, the direction the state is going, has put us in this situation that we're in today. I'm sure we all could think of a better way, but this is where the direction of the state has pushed us to. So at this time, I'm gonna just go ahead and make my vote based on the recommendations and all the studies of what the staff and American Refuge, everybody, all the teams have put together. I'm gonna go on with based on their recommendation. I'll make a second on this.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Espinoza and a second by Councilmember Alvarado to approve resolution number 2867. And make sure you understand, it's we're adopting the rate increase for solid waste collection services. Roll call.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Due to not being alley, no.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Prout.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to public comment. I understand some people may want to have some public comment. You may come forward at this time.
Gary Nelson, 727 Acacia Avenue. I didn't realize the vote this evening was on whether it's alley or
Rate increase.
curbside. I thought it was rates.
Rate increase.
Okay. But I am still opposed to curbside pickup rather than alley pickup. When I built my house, it was built for alley pickup, not for curbside pickup. I have had Michael James and Kevin Gibson over to look at my yard, and it's going to be extremely difficult for me to move from alley to street pickup. Kevin stated it's going to be $1,200 to $1,500 to put in a sidewalk in order to get my product from the alley to the street. I've checked with the tree removal because it'll have to be a tree. You can't just take out roots from a tree and then not take out the tree. From tree removal, it's going to be $1,200 to $1,500. In order to do re-landscaping and moving any irrigation system up there, that's going to be probably another $1,000. So I'm looking at $5,000 plus to get trash from where I expected it to be taken out of the alley to the street. And if you talk to my wife, you're going to find out that's not possible. So I'm going to have to move my trash by trailer from my alley to the front to be removed or pay $5,000 to have that done. And I can guarantee you that the $5,000 is not going to happen. Because when we built our house, it was built on the premise that we would have alley service for our house. And that's not happening, or what you're not proposing to happen at this point in time. You're proposing that it be street pickup rather than alley pickup. And I don't think you're going to eliminate all the problem you're thinking about whenever you move from alley to street. You're talking about alleys that don't look like you would like them to look because people are illegal dumping in the alleys, or there are trees or other things that are encroaching on the alley. Well, we have, I was on the council for 20 years, and we have those things in place now in the city that those things can be addressed and that would not be there. So if they need to prune their trees back, they prune their trees back. If you're going to have somebody looking at the front of the houses to make sure that there is no illegal dumping and there's no excess trash in the front of the house, why can't you do that in the alley? It should be able to be done there as well as in the front of the house. So I have a real problem with having to spend $5,000 to get my trash to the front, rather than when I built my house, I have alley access, and you're still going to have water. My water and sewer access is the alley. So those are still going to have to be maintained no matter what. So the alleys are going to have to be maintained. And I just don't see the reason that you just take a broad brush and say all across the city that it's going to be either alley or street. And when you look at the streets and you look at the cars and you look at how people park their cars and you look at how the trash cans are going to have to be put out during that period of time when they have to be picked up, you're going to be impeding people's driving in the front because they're going to put their trash cans in front of their cars 3 feet apart. And you're going to take up, and they're going to make 2 trips down that street to pick up those trash cans. Whereas now in the alley, they make 1 trip. If you put your trash cans on one side of the alley, which in most cases, there's plenty of room to do that. So you're going to increase the cost. You're going to increase the burden on landowners. And plus, it's going to be a problem for traffic and for kids at certain times of the year whenever they're going to school, because the streets are going to be impacted. So I would consider you to retake a look at this policy and look at those areas in Shafter. If there's some areas that can't be serviced by alley, then we take those into consideration. But if there's areas in the city of Shafter that can be serviced by alley, then I think they should be serviced by alley. And if there are compliance issues that are not met because of homeowners who don't keep their trees pruned and they're out in the alley or other issues, then you use that person who's doing the compliance to make sure that those things are taken care of so that the trucks can get down the alleys. That's my comments for this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, if we can remind the public to 3 minutes, and I will be.
Oh, that's
reminding them
right
as well.
too. Yeah.
My name's Michael Cardy, 344 Redwood Drive. I live same alley that he does. And when I designed my house and built it, I built it for alley access. And, you know, my garage is in the back and all that. And it's difficult for me to try to move the trash in the front. And I know, I mean, we don't have enough parking space for the neighbors out in the front anyway. I don't think there's a place to put a trash can for like a whole block out in front of our house. And also, you know, for us, you know, we share with the neighbors, and sometimes, you know, I have excess and they don't. And when you have got a large container you're sharing, you know, everybody doesn't have excess at the same time. So we're really going to be cutting back on volume that we have for trash by going to these smaller containers. You know what I mean? Sometimes other people may have more green waste or whatever, and I don't, and vice versa. So it gives you more volume. And I wanted to know, are we still going to have fall green waste pickup out on the
In the street? No, that's proposed to do away with.
We're going to do away with it.
Mhm.
I guess I'm going to have to go to Cactus Garden.
It won't need water either, will it, Mike? Water is the issue too. Anyone else care to speak?
Debbie Haley, 264 Oak Court. And Mayor Prout and council members, I would like to speak for roughly half the households in Shafter that do have alley service. And as it's been previously stated, these homes were built with the idea of having alley access. By changing the plan from that, I think we are really going to take away from the look of the city. The idea of alleys is to keep the, shall we say, less attractive, more utilitarian aspects of the city out of view. And in my book, trash cans qualify as less attractive and more utilitarian. So I would like to strongly encourage that we reconsider the plan and keeping alley access for those of us who have it, alley service. Well, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
City Council. Colleen Dilts, 444 Oak Street in Shafter. First of all, I want to apologize. I did not realize that the letter that we passed around, John Ruby, who left, and I passed around a letter and had people signing it. It was a protest, and it was turned in at City Hall Monday before noon. Didn't count as a protest. We probably don't have the right information on what constitutes a protest. Does that make sense? So that was 21 signatures on that.
Okay.
Okay, and to my understanding, there are two different kinds of alleys. And I'm not sure if I'm right. One is the public city dedicated right of way, and one is the one that's owned by adjacent lots. Do you think that's correct?
I'm not aware of any privately owned easement, well, alleys. I mean, generally they're public right of way.
Okay, then that solves that problem totally, because once I no longer have a reason to go into the alley, then I'm not going to be going back there to clean up. Right now, I have a trash can. I rake it every week, sometimes twice a week. Once that's gone, I'm not going behind the fence, because everything I do has got to be hauled to the front. Thank you for your time.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am Peter Nelson. I represent my mother at Deanna Nelson at 400 Pine Street. They're on the east side. I too am here to speak about the alley pickup. Don't oppose the rates, no protest there. But since 1976, my mom has been and my pop has been putting their trash in the alley. She's now 85 and takes little trash cans that are about 1 cubic foot, one at a time, to put them in her trash can outside. I think that, that's what she's able to do because she is can't handle any more volume than that. I do believe that she could roll her trash cans out to her alley, but she can't roll her trash cans around the street to the front of the house. And that's what she'd have to do. We strongly support for her alley pickup, even if it's on one side of the alley. I think that would actually reduce the cost of your trash pickup. That could easily be organized amongst the alley people, so to speak. I guess maybe I'm an alley person now, right? I think that the alleys were designed and meant to be for water, electric, sewer, and trash. That's where the utilities are concentrated, and that's how they should be used. I think that when I look at Shafter, I think it's a beautiful town, and my mom thinks so too. When you start putting these trash cans out, you're going to have a lot more trash out on the street as the litter flies out from the pickup process. You will see, I think, dirtier alleys. I think someone spoke to that early. I go around and for my mom and spray her alley and other people's alley 2 or 3 streets down to keep the weeds out. If we're not going out to the alley, who cares? Just let your property as a city get dilapidated. So we talked about the traffic problems, and I think one side alley pickup would lessen the cost of the trash services. So thank you for the opportunity to speak, and good luck on this issue.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm Ron Nunlist, 1105 Minter.
I too am a proponent for the alley pickup. I don't know, some people drive down my alley and overfill the cans. And when the garbage truck comes and some of it doesn't end up in the truck and it ends up in the alley, the same thing's going to happen out in the street. I'd rather have that messy look out in the alley than out in front of my house. And another thing, they said you can bring mattresses and appliances, big items. I think they said on Friday and they would pick them up. How's that going to look out in front of everybody's house? You know, I'd rather have it out in the alley. That's where everything was designed to be taken care of. And I'm just a proponent of the alley pickup. And why couldn't the ones that have alleys good enough where they can get the trucks down, why couldn't they do it there? And the other ones that can't, they can't. But, you know, like mine alley, that's a good alley down through. They could take a truck down through there. There's no problem. Anyway, thank you.
Anyone else care to speak? Yes, sir.
New glasses.
Watch that chair, huh?
I'm James Payne, 679 Hoffman Drive. What I'd like to say is I've been in the same home. This is my 45th year. Prior to that, I lived over on Elm Street. Now I'm on Hoffman. And we've had alley service since I've been there, 45 years. We started with small trash cans, and then we graduated. It was changed over to the larger dumpsters. There's 2 dumpsters down my alley from Sierra to Redwood, and it services probably 8 or 9 houses, I believe it is. We have no problem, and everybody there cleans their area. We keep it clean. I own my own dump trailer, and when I prune my trees, my shrubs or whatever, I haul it to the dump myself. But I'm getting older, and I would have to bring those cans all the way around to the front of my house. That's a long ways. I'm 75 now, but I'm gonna get older, I hope. But I have a heart condition, and my wife is 4'9", weighs 90 pounds. She cannot move those dumpsters if I have a problem. Now, we've never had a problem with trash in our alleys. And if one person sees it, they clean it up, they pick it up. It don't matter who it is. That's just a common thing that we do in our area. My house is a corner lot, and I got about 10 cars that park across the street and in front of my house every day. I've got 2 cars, one in the garage, one alongside on Sierra. But I'm not carrying these trash cans clear around to the front. I will not do it. We have no problem. There's nothing blocking any truck. They've been doing it for 45 years. Come down our alley and pick up the big dumpsters and dump them. And I have no problem with a rate increase or anything else. But I see problems coming. I know exactly where Gary is talking about. My parents lived 2 houses down from it. If they were still there, they couldn't do it either. So anyway, that's just my status. I hope I can explain that to you a little better, but anyway, I've talked to several people and I'm listening to everything you're saying. And I just don't think one item is sufficient for everybody. You know, I think one size doesn't fit all. That's my perspective. Thank you.
Anybody else? We don't have too many more left, do we? Any public comment for any other issues? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. We do have other items on the agenda, and I know that some of you want to hear comment from me. I know that we had some workshops and we did have people that came. I thought they participated very well at our workshops, and there were a lot of other questions and issues and comments that were made. And I know the staff is still going to have to work through a lot of those issues. And maybe there's some answers that'll come along. It's not going to be a today, tomorrow changeover. I mean, it's going to take an awful lot of effort, and there could be some exceptions. As most of you know, Gary and I are friends, and we've talked about this often, and we can't guarantee him, we can't guarantee anybody what we can do. But you got to give it a chance. We got to see what we can do, what we can come up with so that it can help everyone. I don't like it. It's going to cost me dollars because I don't want my cans out in front. I don't want them visible. So whether I screen in the front or I screen in the back, I'm going to have to do it. But I'm telling you, the advantage that I'm going to have is that I have control of my can. And by golly, no one can complain except myself as to what I put in there. So, I mean, that to me is a plus. But when I'm sitting up here and I'm having to make a decision that affects our whole city, I've had to look at it that way. And we've had to make other decisions through the years, and you never make everybody happy. And all I can say is we got to try it. You know, we hired American Refuge. They're new in the community when they came here, and we went ahead and started them and getting involved with commercial hauling and hitting our businesses and helping with us. I didn't want to franchise. I always swore them down. I'd never go franchise. But in today's world, I don't think we even have a choice there. The people that it takes, the cost that it takes, the equipment, everything that goes with it. So we were making some decisions that I believe affect the whole city, and that's what I have to look at. The most cost effective, the best way. And we're not the first and the only city that's done it or are going to have to do it. And they seem to manage. There may be some areas it's going to be harder because it's hard everywhere. I mean, people are they're just lax about it. I drive around often. I drive often out to Gossamer because they're a newer place out there and they have all their cans outside. And there are some that don't line them up and don't keep them orderly. And they need to be told, hey, you know what? You need to conform a little bit here to make the whole area look better. I mean, those are just little steps that we have to deal with. But I've talked to people out of the town that don't live in Shafter, that live in other places, and they're mandated to do it. And when they don't do it, they get cited. And there's no questions asked. And so when I look at it, I think, okay, it's going to be harder to discipline some areas, some people versus somewhere else. But if we don't try it, we'll never know. And staff knows I felt that way from the start. I mean, you people know I've been around here for a long time, and I know it's hard. You can't please everybody all the time. You just can't. And yet in this particular case, we got to try it. We got to try to get the people back responsible for their own. It's been abused with the homeowners, and it's been abused with people coming in from out of the area. You know, and I feel really bad. And we've tried hard. Our staff has done extra work out there to get people to conform and to take care of their own. And you and I are going to have to be the ones that are out there saying, you know what? I've had neighbors change in my own alley. I could always brag about my alley that it was perfectly clean and everybody took care of it. And Peter, let me tell you, we've had neighbors change over there and they haven't done their part. And I'm not proud of our alley. It's not as bad as others, but it certainly has changed because people have changed and there's lots of reasons why we've changed. So I'd really like to try this. I really would. And believe me, for American Refuge to decide to take this project on is a big undertaking on their end. I mean, they're getting the comments, the flack, that's the distress that everybody has, just like we are. But let me tell you, there have been people calling city yard services all the time complaining about their own neighbors and what they're doing with their garbage. So we got to try something. We got to do it. You know, it is a sad day. It really is. But you got to work with us because we got to see if we can make it work. And how can you just say some people will have this alley open and some of them won't? That's a pretty tough one. But maybe down the road, maybe it will happen. Because you're right, we're gonna have to still maintain those alleys. And you're gonna find out people are gonna have to clean that alley up. I can tell you, my husband never wanted me to drive down an alley for a lot of reasons, and I still drive down alleys. So I've seen them. I've seen it change through the years. You know, and it's unfortunate, but this is just it. It's a time. Any other comments?
I was hoping I could stay quiet on this,
Yeah.
but I'm a bad fit for this too. On the front of my house, I live on a corner lot. On the front of my house, between my vehicles and my neighbor's vehicles, they're butted up to each other all the way up around the corner. That's if I want to put the cans where I would like to put them. Okay, so the other option is to put them around the corner next to my garage where my swimming pool is. That's not a good fit for my wife. She doesn't like that at all. So if I was to put the cans over between my neighbor and myself, then I have the issue with the cars lining up so that there's nowhere to put the cans on the sidewalk or in between the cars because they're so close. You're gonna have to put them out in front of the cars. And then I understand the people that leave early that will put them out before they leave, and then they're going to stay out there all day until they get back from work, and then they'll be able to put them back. The issue with my yard is my wife will not just let me put the cans in between the two houses. I'm going to have to pour concrete. I'm going to have to put a block wall. I'm going to have to put a nice gate, and I'm going to have to do something along the landscaping to be able to make a pathway to get it out to the curb. And then it's going to be in front of the cars. So it's going to be out in the street. I have been taken around and shown tours of alleys with the big trash cans and with alleys without them. The alleys are a lot cleaner without the trash cans. The trash cans are a magnet. I understand, Ron, what you said about, you know, the trash that doesn't make it in the trash can is going to be out in front of the street. These are all things that, you know, we're going to have to figure out as we go along. But the thing about it is that this is something that just hasn't recently came up. From my understanding, they were talking about this back in 2010, 2012. And it just got to the point to where nothing was done to now something has to be done. So we don't have the luxury of kind of working our way through and feeling it through. Now we're being mandated by the state that it has to be into compliance by a certain date or face the ramifications. I understand that half the city is alleys and the other half, the newer construction, they don't have alleys. So you're not going to hear anything from them because they don't have an option. They just put their trash cans out in the front, and that's just the way it is. I will too miss the alley trash service, but I'm falling in line with what Kathy is saying, is that we have to try something and try to work it out and make it fit the best we can, knowing that one size does not fit all. So that's my opinion. I really haven't voiced it. I have to some, but that's my feeling too. I will miss the alley service, but I understand the compliance part of it and moving forward. So along with everything else, I know the staff has put some effort in on trying to answer all the questions that have come up. And of course, there's always going to be exceptions. And American Refuge, I know that they've taken a beating too, you know, because, you know, they're just trying to provide a service and get us to the point to where we can be in compliance on this deal. So that's about all I have to say.
Thank you. Finished?
If you're give me an opportunity, I'll have something to say. I also am in a position where it's probably not wise for me to speak, but not for the same reasons. You heard my vote already. I don't agree. I want to stay in the alley. I see life very differently, and I know that we need to quote unquote comply. This is more of a city mandate than a state mandate. State mandates 3 carts. The state is not mandating curbside. I look at a perspective of why can't we try the other route? We should be looking at things from a case by case situation. And that's my opinion of it. And I said that once already. I'll say it again. I don't have an issue with the rate. I have an issue with the location and how the rate was noted on the agenda. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I know there are certain situations where it's probably just not going to be feasible. I do understand that. I've seen the alleys, I've seen the locations. It's not going to be feasible to keep this in the alley. I get it. But is that the same for everyone across the board? I can't answer that. I don't think I've seen enough information to make an educated guess on what that should look like. But again, no, I'm not for moving to curbside.
Okay, well, we don't have any motions. We're finished. We're just going to move on to the other at this time. So if anyone wants to stick around, that's fine. Otherwise, we're going on to council announcements and reports. Who wants to start? You have something to report on?
Yes, I got a couple of things. I'll just go through them real quickly. On May 18th, I attended the Public Works Appreciation Lunch out at the city yard. And it was a nice lunch. And I'd like to thank the city Public Works Department for all their hard work. On May 19th, I attended the Kern County Water Summit at the, I don't know what they call it now. It's the Robobank Arena or the Civic Center, the old Civic Center. On the 23rd and on June 6th, I also did listen in on the Citizen Charter Committee meeting. I'm finding that very interesting. They're going through the city charter article by article. On May 30th, I attended the Memorial Day ceremony at the Shafter Cemetery. It was a very nice ceremony, and the cemetery looked amazing with all the flags and everything out there. So I'd like to thank everyone for their hard work and dedication on doing that. That was awesome. And then the last thing I'd like to bring up is on June 10th, there's going to be a blood drive that's going to be hosted by Golden Living, Shafter Nursing and Rehab, and the city of Shafter. So that's June 10th, and we're looking to get all of the available slots filled. I know Rachel's involved in that. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask her. And I'd love to see everybody lined up over there to the point to where, you know, they had more than enough coming from the city of Shafter for their blood drive. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you taking our blood? Oh, man.
Chad, you have something?
I have nothing to report. It's been graduation season, which has been really cool to see people actually graduate on Shafter High's almost done field. It'd be nice to see that thing completed. Other than that, it's just been status quo.
Gilbert?
I just have one item to report. I had the opportunity to have some coffee with some officers, some of the finest officers on this side of Mississippi.
Whoa. He forgot.
So it was great. It was a good time, and I think folks really appreciated that in Gossamer Grove area. And I overheard the chief saying that he's going to have some more in the core city. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So
yeah, it's good. Okay, I had a couple other meetings that I went to that I'd like to highlight. One of them was we all attended. No, we didn't all attend, did we? Some people did miss. Yeah, some of us did miss on the luncheon with the Public Works.
I missed that one.
Yeah, but it was really
was at work.
nice. It's always been there every year, and it's really nice to have an opportunity. This time we also had a lot of the other staff in the other departments came through too, and it was a good exchange with everybody. It was a perfect day out there. Yeah, it was really, really nice. But also I had a regional policy committee meeting, which is representative of Kern County all the way to San Joaquin County. And there's an AB, here goes another law, AB 285, which is from Assemblyman Friedman. And it's not really a law yet, but they're trying to follow the governor's plan. And so they've asked for this Strategic Growth Council, and the council came and did a presentation And they had all these different steps of what they want to address in their study. But in the end, I can tell you that the key area is to make sure that, and I'll read them to you, is that one size doesn't fit all. It has to do with transportation in the valley. And the governor doesn't want to put money in the valley. They don't want to put money in roads. They want to have us all go, I guess, in the air. I don't know what's going to come up next. I'm not really sure, but if you're followed enough, you know what I'm talking about. So the valley people, and it seems like that's where everybody's looking, is at the valley because of what's already in the northern part of the state as well as down in the southern part of the state. But one size doesn't fit all. And what we're asking for is more flexibility in funding. And so that they could at least leave some funds for local and rural, regional areas for transportation and make it easier to apply for that funding. Is that even possible, Michael? I mean, make it easier. I mean, yeah. No. And so we're hoping that that they're having a big meeting on August the 31st, and we'll see what they can come out with all these suggested ideas of what the governor wants to do and how it's going to affect all of us. I did go to the Memorial Day, if you want to look at their little program. Nothing held for the last 2 years because of the situations with the pandemic and all, but it was really a nice program set up. Nice display of flags, the big flags on the street, as well as little ones at all the gravesides of the veterans. And a fairly nice crowd that came out, and they had some music, and they had a fellow Absher, Mr. Absher, Gene Absher, that did some songs that he had written and recorded. And the coffee for the cops, those are always a highlight. It doesn't matter if you have one person or you have 10 or 12 or 15, it's always good to have it. And we had no negativeness. The people that came out wanted to just meander by and casually talk and give encouragement to the officers. I mean, a chief could put his shoulders back. It was nice to hear. And the other officers that were there too, they realized it. It's a good feeling, and we need those encouragement. The Charter Committee. The Charter Committee has met for 4 times now, and they are, as of last night, they are ready to have their recommendation come forward. And they'll meet on the 20th, and it'll come to council then, but they're really taking no action to change anything in the charter that's already being operated, that we operate under. I think that's all I have. So it's really been, it's been a good time, a productive time too. So I do enjoy representing. Now, if I can get my throat clear, huh? Under consent calendar, maybe I am going to have a hard time with this. We have the approval of checks, payroll, and minutes for May 9th and May 17th, May 24th. We have a special event permit for the Pear and Maroda physical therapy ribbon cutting, and it's open to the public. It's on June the 14th, and they're located on Laredo Highway, just down from Dr. Coleman's office. Yeah, and the next item is a public special event permit for the 3rd of July fireworks celebration, and it'll be held at the Shafter High Sports Complex on July the 3rd. It is Sunday. The next item 6 is to ratify the letter of opposition on behalf of the Shafter City Council in opposition of Assembly Bill 2484, which has to do with significantly impacting charter school facilities and their funding. Number 7 is to approve a request for proposal for the use of city-owned fiber network assets and citywide expansion of broadband services. And it will authorize the release of the request for proposal for bidding and procurement policies. Number 8 is to adopt resolution number 2866, project for fiscal year 2022-2023, funded by Senate Bill 1, and they're asking us to have our list of Road Repair and Accountability Act for 2017. Number 9 is to authorize the release of bidding purposes for the 2022 Pozo Avenue Street and Storm Drain Improvement Project. Number 10 is to approve professional services agreement for a not to exceed cost of $288,046 to Advanced Applied Engineering to prepare the sixth cycle housing element update as required by state law. Number 11 is to find the requested action, adopt resolution 2870. Resolution authorizing city manager to execute agreement with the California Department of Transportation for historic core recreation rehabilitation and enhancement project, which does clear money for Clean California. And you know what? I heard today that it is it is reimbursable. I mean, we could start spending right now.
Once we execute the agreement, like we're doing tonight, that you're approving it and they sign off, the state, once they approve it, then we can begin it.
We can start moving. That sounds good. Okay. That has to do with all of our parks that we were granted money for. Number 12 is to adopt resolution number 2871, which is calling notice for holding of a general municipal election to be held on Tuesday, November the 8th, 2022. Then 13 is to adopt resolution number 2872, requesting the Board of Supervisors of the County of Kern to consolidate a general municipal election to be held on November the 8th with a statewide general election. And number 14 is to adopt resolution number 2873, which is adopting regulations for candidates for elective office pertaining to candidates' statements submitted to the voters on the election day. Any questions or comments from council?
That was a lot.
Yeah, there's some good stuff.
I'll make a motion to approve as read. It's still a lot.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Givens, seconded by Councilmember Espinoza to approve consent calendar.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Prout.
Yes. Okay, we'll move into public hearings and number 2 item, since we already did number 1, which had to do with the proposed fee protest, was the legislative extension of time for tentative track maps.
Charlie, Mayor and Council, our planning director is going to be making the staff report for this.
Honorable Mayor and Council, this item is legislative extensions of time for a number of tracks. Prior to the meeting, I spoke with our city attorney, and I've come to understand that 2 of the tracks, there's actually a few conflicts of interest. And so we're going to pull those tracks from the consideration tonight, and we will renotice and do those tracks at a later date. Those tracks specifically are 6614 and 7072. So we're not going to consider those tonight. Instead, we're going to consider the 7 remaining tracks. And those tracks are 6613, 6704, 6783, 6910, 7007, 7052, and 7207. Extensions of time are allowed by government code per this section. Currently, this section became effective by the state legislature on the 1st of January in 2001. The reason why we're bringing these now is because at that time, these tracks were not in any sort of time crunch to get an extension. So there was time to sort of allow that to occur now. And the other reason we're honestly bringing this many is because it's for a very logistical reason. My senior planner, Suzanne Forrest, who has been doing the extensions of time, is actually going to retire here in the next 6 months or so. And so what we're trying to do is get these extensions of time taken care of before I get overloaded, being by myself or with a new planner that we're getting up to speed. So this is just a way of sort of getting these done now so that they don't sort of trickle in and jam up my future work when Suzanne leaves. So these are essentially a 24-month extensions of times for residential subdivision maps, all the ones that were approved between 2006 and 2013 as allowed by that government code. These now 7 maps are, of course, all of them that are shown here except for 6014 and 7072. These extensions of time require the council's approval. And the owners are still eligible for any remaining discretionary extensions of time that they would like to bring forward on their own in the future. Excuse me. This is essentially where these extensions of tracks are located. They're all located within the core of the city. Again, 6614 and 7072, you'll notice that up in the northeast portion of this map. Those are not being considered tonight. These extensions of time essentially there are no changes to the maps other than to extend them for 2 more years. There are absolutely no changes to the intensity of the maps, the design of the maps, or anything like that. It is just an extension of time. Staff's recommendation is to conduct hearing, find that previous CEQA approved for the maps, were approved for the maps, and that no additional CEQA is required, and to adopt resolution 2865 approving a 2-year extension of time for the 7 maps, subject to the conditions of approval for each map, and that each map will expire on the applicable date, which is found in your staff report. And with that, that concludes my staff report. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
So when you do all these at once, it doesn't extend the expiration date to the same date. It actually just extends it to its whatever, July 17th, 2022 to now 2024.
Correct. You're right. It doesn't trigger them all, but it will extend it 2 more years from the previous extension.
Okay. Oh, yeah, found that very curious. I have no other questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
These extensions, the city's doing them, or the people who?
The city is doing them. The city is extending the maps.
And we're hoping that they take the extra time to.
Yeah, really, these people have put a lot of energy and time into developing these maps. A lot of costs are incurred. We certainly need housing still here in Shafter. And so this is a way to allow these maps to stay alive while people still are figuring out financing. Very well, in 2 more years, nothing occurs on these maps. They don't ask for an extension and the map dies. That can happen, but we would like to keep that from happening at all possible.
Make an extension.
Exactly. And it is a legislative extension. So it's something that we're allowed to do. And I think in the long game, it's better to extend these now and give people an opportunity to get their financing together, get their contractors together, and start building some homes on these tracks rather than let them die and someone has to start all over.
Communication between the owners of the lots and the city, or we're just doing this on our own?
There has been conversations with the owners of the lots, and they're in agreement. They're like, if you want to extend our maps, great. That'd be wonderful.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Thank you for informing me.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? I'm going to open the public hearing. Anyone care to speak for or against may come forward at this time. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain the motion.
I will make a motion to approve extension of time for tentative track numbers 6613, 6704, 6783, 6910, 7007, 7052, and 7203, removing 6614 and 7072 to a later time.
And adopt
And yes, in adopting. This is
resolution
in adopting resolution for the same tracks.
2865.
Yes.
Okay. That's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Givens, seconded by Councilmember Espinoza to adopt resolution number 2865.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Proud.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll let you know that I'll revise that resolution, get it to the city clerk without the 2 tracks that you have eliminated.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
number 3 is the formation of new landscaping lighting district.
Certainly, Mayor and Council, this is somewhat of a routine ministerial matter, but it does require a public hearing to which our Public Works Director will provide a brief staff report.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, track 6490 is located between Los Angeles Avenue and East Ash Avenue, west of Santa Fe. It's actually under development right now. At build out, it'll add 107 new residential lots to the city. You know, it's typical of new residential developments to allow the city to form a landscape and lighting district to collect property taxes from the lot owners so we can maintain public streetscapes and street lighting. We have the option of annexing into an existing district or creating a new one. In this particular case, staff felt it made more sense to form a new district. So prior to tonight's meeting, the council adopted a resolution of intent that approved an engineer's report that contained the recommended assessments. And that same resolution authorized a public hearing on the proposed district formation. And that a hearing notice for the hearing tonight was properly published. And the impacted lot owner, which is there's only a single lot owner with this tract because it hasn't been subdivided yet, has waived a 45-day written notice of the hearing, mostly to expedite the formation of the district, because the sooner they get this done, the sooner they can meet their conditions of approval. So at this time, staff requests that the council conduct the hearing, and at the close of the hearing, adopt resolution 2868, which would order the district formation once lots are in a position to be assessed.
Okay, this time I'd like to open the hearing for anyone who cares to address the council for or against. Landscaping and lighting district. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Council, any questions or motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Alvarado, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Givens to adopt resolution numbers 2868.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Prout.
Yes. Next item is the ordinance creating the Development Impact Fee Program and administration procedures.
Sorry, Mayor and Council, items 4 and 5 go hand in hand. The first item is for City Council to conduct a public hearing and waive further reading of ordinance number 738. This is a proposed ordinance adding chapter 18 to title 16 of the Shafter Municipal Code relating to the city's Development Impact Fee Program and administration. Currently, the city's municipal code does not contain provisions that provide administrative guidance for the adoption, collection, and administration of development impact fees. Although most of the legal requirements for the adoption and collection of development impact fees are detailed in the California Mitigation Fee Act, it is standard practice to supplement these requirements with local administrative procedures. The purpose of this ordinance is to create such procedures. By way of background, development impact fee is a development extraction imposed on development other than a tax or special assessment that is charged by a local government agency to an applicant in connection with approval of a development project for the purpose of defraying all or a portion of the cost of public facilities related to impacts created by the development project. The city commissioned a development impact fee study or nexus study as required by AB 1600 that details: 1, projected of future growth that will be served; 2, identifies the current and projected levels of service for certain public facility categories; 3, identifies any facilities improvements that will be needed to accommodate future growth; and 4, allocate the cost of providing the needed public services between the existing population and the new population. The study further provides a justification for the types and amounts of development impact fees that are imposed. The city council will consider the adoption of the nexus study and the fee resolution as a separate item, which is item number 5. The adoption of the ordinance merely creates the administrative regulations to guide city staff once the fees are collected, and includes the following components. 1, defines the purpose of the fees and applicable exemptions. 2, defines certain terms to assist staff in the administration of the fee program. 3, establishes fee categories and funds for the collection and placement of monies collected. 4, establishes when an applicant will pay the fees and the circumstances under which they might be entitled to credits. 5, a process to allow developers to be reimbursed for constructing facilities or donating land that exceed their requirements. And 6, a process to consider fee deferrals and waivers to promote fair financing mechanisms. And with that, concludes the staff report, and as stated at the beginning, we are recommending approval of such ordinance.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. If anyone cares to address the council for or against this ordinance for impact fees. I can see you over there. I close the public hearing. There are no comments. Any questions of council?
Are we doing this 4 and 5? Or do we need to separate the two?
We need separate item.
4.
Okay, I just have questions. I
Yeah,
think
no,
we
that was a
can-
good question. The public hearing, as we just discussed, we could have done it jointly because it's related to the same item, but for the record, we'll just do the public hearing as well for item.
So wait for my number 5 question.
If it's directly related to I-5.
It is, yeah, okay, okay.
Yes.
I'll wait it out. And I'll just make a motion to approve public hearing item number 4 as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Given, seconded by Councilmember Alvarado. Roll call?
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Prout.
Yes. Okay, then number 5 item. Any more comments?
So
We'll just-
now we got to conduct the whole
Okay,
public
so we
hearing
have some questions on that one.
on item number 5.
Do I have to wait for you to open it first before I say anything?
No, you can ask a
So,
question now.
so I have a brief staff report, but if
Oh,
you
no, you
want to
do
get out in
you
front
do
of me,
you
that's fine.
first. You do you.
Okay,
You go
thank
through the motion.
All right, so Mayor and Council, this item is a two-step process. One is to open the public hearing and take public testimony regarding one, the Nexus study, and second is the proposed fees. And then close the public hearing and consideration to adopt resolution 2869. As stated, the city did commission a Nexus study to establish the development impact fees. I provided an explanation as to what the purpose of those impact fees are. Just by way of background, we did provide a summary table in the staff report. We'll go ahead and read those just for the record. The summary of proposed development impact fees are as follows. For detached dwelling unit is $2,910 per unit. Attached dwelling unit, $2,265 per unit. Mobile home dwelling unit, $2,547. Commercial lodging keyed unit, $1,024. Retail service office per square foot, $3
Oops.
.012 per square foot.
Oh, yeah, I see that now.
Business park use per square foot is $1.37. Industrial per square foot is 25 cents. And institutional use per square foot is 88 cents. As adopted, resolution will take effect immediately and the approved fees will be effective 60 days from the date as required by law. We're also asking that the proposed resolution adopts interim policies to assist staff administrating the fee program. Under certain land use laws, including California Subdivision Map Act, fees that can be imposed are those that are in effect at the time the map application is submitted. In order to avoid a rush to the counter scenario, the interim policy makes clear that one, the development impact fees to be paid are those that are adopted by this resolution, despite its effective date, since notice has been provided of the amounts. And two, describes the types of projects that are exempt from those requirements due to state law. So basically what the interim policies do, if there were existing fees today and this was looking to increase them by a significant amount, whatever the percentage, it basically keeps those the builders to rush into the counter to pull permits so that the lesser fee applies. In this case, it's basically saying that whatever fees we adopt as of today, that's the fee that they would pay. So even though it's still going to be 60 days, upon adoption by council, if there's a rush to the counter tomorrow, it wouldn't matter because they're still paying the fees as just adopted. And as stated, the interim fees would only affect map applications that are made between the adoption of the resolution and their effective date 60 days later. They also affect already approved subdivision maps that are not otherwise vested by state law. And with that, Mayor and Council, that concludes our staff report.
Now you have a question?
Well, I didn't know if you want to do the whole open and close thing.
No, go ahead now.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I have a handful of questions, so bear with me. So for track maps that have been approved, however, they haven't pulled a permit for the home, then this becomes effective. For instance, all the tracks that we just got through approving for extension, if someone says, I'm going to build this next 100-home track tomorrow, even though the track has been out there since 2006 or 7, the house itself is what's going to be charged, not the track, right?
Right, the house.
Right. For many tracks that are not otherwise vested. So if somebody filed a vesting tentative map, the vesting statute does vest the fees at the time that they submitted their map. But if they didn't submit it as a vesting map, and it's not otherwise vested by a development agreement or something else, then the belief is we could impose the fees as you adopt them tonight, because there's nothing protecting or vesting that map into the lower fees.
Understandable. The commercial lodging keyed unit, is that like we're building a hotel and it's a 100-room hotel? Is it a per room because it says keyed, or is that just
per room?
So it is a per room situation when it comes to the commercial piece. Okay. And then the institutional, that's schools, correct? At least here it says private institutional. So private institution is different than public.
Correct.
So I just want to get that clarification. Are we going off the Nexus study that says private, or are we just saying in general institutions like a school, public school is using that 0.883?
Scott, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you hear Mayor Pro Tem Givens?
Yes.
There he
Love
is.
it.
Wow, it was a voice
Out of nowhere.
Okay. Private institutional would be churches and private schools, perhaps even daycare centers and things like that. Unfortunately, any school, public school, goes through the state architect's office and you don't have the hammer.
Gotcha.
So you're just not going to be able to apply them.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate it clarifying that. The other thing I noticed going through the study, it looks like our current fees and our proposed fees are relatively close. So were we somewhat close to what we anticipated to be? I mean, is that really what I'm seeing here?
I don't understand.
So I'm just going based on this. So the number you're talking about for a detached dwelling unit, correct?
Yes, 2265. I'm sorry, detached is 2910.
Correct. So if I look at how that breakdown works on that detached dwelling unit, the law services alone, we were at 1651, and you're saying we should be at 1650. Now that's just the breakdown if you break it between law, fire, and then animal control. But all I'm asking is the rates that we currently charge, were we somewhat in line with what we're proposing?
We currently
It seems like it.
We don't charge any fees today.
Okay, so that was my confusion looking at the Nexus study, because it seems like it's saying existing and proposed. So there is no existing.
There is no existing. For the record, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor and Council, we do not have development impact fees today for police, fire, or animal control.
Gotcha. You can see all my notes.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking through this and I'm like, well, it looks like we're really close, but that's not true because we never did it to begin with. So
0 to.
yeah, so then just the way I read it, I just read that wrong. So I just wanted to ask the question for my clarification. So I have no other questions. Sorry for asking so much.
I'd like to open the public hearing. If anyone cares to address the council for or against may come forward at this time. Nope, we're going to close the hearing. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Better go to the counter right now.
60 days from today.
The resolution takes effect tonight. As soon as we approve it, but the fees can begin to be.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Givens, seconded by Councilmember Alvarado.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Prout.
Yes. Very good.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
It seemed very easy, didn't it? He did smile too. Okay, we'll move on to manager reports. The first item is the 2022 Zerker Road Construction Project Award of Contract.
Certainly, Mayor and Council, this is a continuation of the city's goal to continue to improve our current condition of roads. And this is just another project to achieve that. And Mike will make the presentation.
This honorable mayor, members of the Shafter City Council, Public Works recently opened bids for a project to continue pavement reconstruction at Zerker Road. The next stretch is about 3/4 of a mile in length, and it would start north of the Frank Kern Canal. The bids we received range from approximately $770,000 to $910,000. The lowest responsive bid was submitted by Griffith Company, and they performed numerous road projects successfully for the city over the past several years. The pre-bid estimate going into this bid process was $800,000. So we're pretty close with our estimate. A suggested budget to cover the low bid plus contingencies and contracting with a firm to assure quality control is $820,000. For this particular project, there's $496,000 programmed in the Federal Transportation Improvement Program that we can utilize. With the an assumption of $820,000 for a budget, that leaves $324,000 in local matching funds to complete the project. And we have adequate balances with our typical sources of road improvement funds, which are gas tax and TDA. But this project is not listed in the capital improvement program, so it would require a budget appropriation to create a new project in the CIP. The work, assuming the work is authorized tonight, it will likely start after the 4th of July weekend. And you can expect traffic delays and detours to complete the job safely. And we're already efforting notices to the affected businesses, as well as we'll push out public notification like we typically do with this project, so people have ample time to make adjustments to their routine. So with that, we request authorization to award the project. And also complete the budget appropriation to make sure the project is listed in the CIP.
You know, we did this before on a section beyond that, and it worked out well, didn't it?
Surprisingly well.
Yes, yeah. So I would hope that it would. I mean, the road was a huge improvement, so.
Correct. And yeah, so we're going to continue with the same detour plan that we had before that worked, and assuming that'll work again.
Sure, good. Any other questions, comments?
The staff report notes that there is a volatility. I'm never going to say that word right for the asphalt products. It's 4% for fluctuation. Is that a note that we put on, or is that what Griffith put on?
That's what we put on.
Okay, I was just curious if that was a Griffith or a Bowman.
Oh, okay.
Bowman or Granite. I didn't know who did that, so I was just kind of curious.
No, I believe we put that up front, so everyone had the same conditions to consider with their bids.
Very nice. I have no further questions. I would make a motion to approve and award as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Givens, seconded by Councilmember Alvarado.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Prout.
Yes. Okay, number 2 item is the cancellation for regularly scheduled city council meeting for July the 5th.
Surely,
Following the 4th
our
of
city
July
clerk will give a
holiday.
brief staff report.
Wow.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, we have for your approval, the cancellation of the regularly scheduled city council meeting of July 5th. It is common practice for cities to cancel one regularly scheduled city council meeting, and due to the July 4th holiday being on the Monday and the next day, July 5th is our council meeting. We ask that you cancel the regularly scheduled meeting of July 5th. Also due to the fact that hopefully the annual budget will be adopted and it should be a little bit slower by July 5th. And if we do have any items that do come up, we can always schedule a special meeting. And the next meeting would be scheduled for July 19th, the next regular city council meeting. And
So my only other question is all the staff going to be off too?
Not all of the staff, but we do have some staff that'll be staggering.
That would not come to work on the 5th?
Yes, we have some staff that will be off on the 5th.
As long as Chief's here, I'm okay.
As long as Chief is, you can't time in that chair. I'm sorry. Sorry, chief.
Do we need a motion for this?
That was in public.
I'll make a motion to cancel July 5th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Givens, seconded by Councilmember Alvarado.
I love it.
Councilmember Alvarado,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
and Prout.
Yes. City manager comments and reports?
Just really quick, Mayor and Council, Mary, you mentioned the Charter Committee. We are on schedule to bring to you their recommendations or the final report from the committee, all the work that went into it. And I can tell you that they were very deliberate and methodical in their discussions and reviewing the charter. I want to recognize the work our city clerk did in that effort to provide them information and the research that went into it. I think that was very beneficial for the charter committee members. Some of them are new to this process. So I think the work that was done was very, very helpful for them. So that final report will come to you on the 20th, at the first meeting of
21,
21.
during 21.
And with that, then nothing further. We only have our chief who's wants to give you a quick update, and then we have no other directors reports.
Real quick, Yasmina, what I did listen in onto, you guys did a very good job for that. So good job.
Yes, I'd like to add to that too. I've been watching and you guys kept the meetings moving very smoothly, very informational. And thank you for your hard work.
I think it's just worth mentioning too, our city attorney's office, Henry Castillo, was instrumental as well, providing legal assistance. So I want to recognize him as well.
Yes, let Henry know I said thank you.
Okay, chief.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted to thank you for participating in the Coffee with the Cop. We did have a slight turnout, but in fact, several of us hijacked people walking by. Anyway, I thought it was very fruitful. And you've already mentioned that, we got some really useful and helpful comments. And this is just going to be a revisiting of what we've already done. So we're going to have a series of these, and in the middle of the summer is going to be our next one. We're going to have them about every 3 months. So expect for it to show up on your calendar. So I wanted to thank you guys for showing up. Thank my staff for putting it together, and we're already preparing for what's next.
Chief, I have a question while you're up here. We're being recognized with the MAD group in Bakersfield coming up. How many officers do we have?
We have 2 officers.
2? Okay. That's always a fun event, especially when we can brag.
That's fair.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Your team has done a great job, by the way. I know the Coffee with the Cop, not a lot of turnout, but that's probably not a bad thing either.
No.
Most people who talk about Shafter, come to Shafter, they speak very highly of the fact that we don't have the crime situations, and albeit we have issues. You've talked about those issues, but we don't see it like we do to our neighbors to the north, and frankly, our neighbors to the south and the east. And that's a testament to you and your team and every person you have over there. It's a testament even to Public Works and the work that you guys have put in and making sure that, everyone's working together as a team. So maybe not the best of turnouts, but again, not the worst of news to hear either. So keep that going.
Will do. I'll finish up by saying that most of the folks we talked to came from some other city. So they have a much different perspective, and they were to, what they did offer was valuable. So some from Orange County, some from, Paso Robles, those areas. So, but the perspectives they had were valuable to us. So
good.
Thank you, Chief.
And they liked alley service. They like garbage.
I love the alley trash can service. Are we plugging that right now?
I'm just telling you.
Plugged it.
There were comments out there and they got fined. If you didn't put it out like you're supposed to and put it away, you got fined.
Someone needs to issue a gag order here.
I'm telling you guys, you got to give our citizens credit. I mean, we could do it too. Yeah. Don't cheat yourselves, huh?
Mayor, I can beg your indulgence. I stand corrected. Just one last item. We will provide to you.
Time's up.
On a separate email.
I'm sorry.
You're going to want to listen to this.
Wow.
Just really quick. We registered all of you for the League of City Conference.
That's right.
But if you are you can let us know if you don't plan to attend, only because the rooms do fill up quickly. And if you know you're not going to attend, we can release that room for another city official from another city so they can have a room. So if you can let us
If
know.
I
as soon
can
as
walk, I'll be there.
possible. All right, thank you.
I don't know what to say. Do we need a motion to recess?
Yeah, if you insist. I don't think we have much to do, but let's have the motion to recess.
A motion to recess into closed session.
And it's 7:36.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, we'll recess a closed session for public performance evaluation for city manager and city attorney. Okay, you on? Okay, we're back in open session. This time I'd like to call upon our city attorney to give us a wrap up.
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier tonight, City Council recessed into closed session. The item was one item on the agenda. Public employee performance evaluation concerning the city manager and the city attorney. City Council provided direction regarding a timeline for those reviews, and there is no reportable action. I should also mention that all members were present except for Council Member Lopez, who is in excused absence tonight.
Comments to our attorney?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.